X-Wing is ready for some more space blasting action, so today we're going to play Moonsweeper for your Atari 2600. Let's go ahead and take Moonsweeper. Let's pop it in my 7800 Pro system and see how it holds up today. Let's go to the game. Moonsweeper was published by Imagic and, according to randomterrain.com, most likely came out in August of 1983. It was programmed by Imagic co-founder Bob Smith, who programmed several other Atari 2600 games, including the classics Video Pinball and Dragonfire, which I previously reviewed both of those. I also made a video highlighting his Atari 2600 games called the Atari 2600 Games of Bob Smith, which I highly recommend if you're interested in that type of video game history. The manual opens with the following: USS Moonsweeper, alert! Your mission: to reach and rescue miners stranded on the hostile moons of star quadrant Jupiter. Warning: proceed with extreme caution. Deadly photon torch and space bullet showers reported. Aurora flare activity in quadrant at lethal levels. Take evasive action. Then land on as many moons as you can. Avoid colliding with lunar landmarks. Unidentified alien ships patrol moons and launch armed surface destroyers. Survive at all costs or the miners won't make it. Moonsweeper is a space shooting action game for 1 or 2 players alternating with 4 modes of difficulty. The game is separated into 2 phases that you go in between. For the basic controls, you move with the joystick and press the button to fire 1 shot at a time. The first phase takes place in open space. Here your goal is to touch an orbiting moon while avoiding or destroying various projectiles. In this phase, you can activate a force field by holding directly down on the joystick and pressing the button. But you drain points when you're using the force field unless you have 0 points, which at that point means you can use the force field without any consequence. When you touch a moon, you will automatically fly down to the surface. Here your goal is to collect 6 stranded miners who are humorously waving their hands as you fly by. A flashing rectangle on the top under your score acts as a radar, showing where the miner will appear horizontally on the screen. While on the surface of the moon, you can also press up to go faster or down to go slower. You will also encounter 2 large enemies who fly above the surface of the moon. Satellites will not attack you, but launcher ships will launch quick-moving surface destroyers. You can fire high-altitude shots at satellites and launchers by holding directly down on the joystick and pressing the button. You can have up to 2 surface destroyers on screen at a time. They can destroy the stranded miners, but they can also crash into towers, destroying themselves in the process. You too can crash into towers or destroy them with your shot. You can also destroy the miners with your shot, but it won't hurt you or your score. If you die on the surface of the moon, you will return back to the first phase using the joystick to begin. If you collect 6 miners, you could try to fly through accelerator rings to fly back into outer space. It could take 2 or 3 rings to take off depending how fast you're flying. They appear in groups, and if you don't take off by the time the group of them pass, you'll need to try again later. There are 4 colored moons that increase in difficulty, starting with blue moons being the easiest, with the difficulty rising for green moons, then again for yellow moons, and maxing out at the highest difficulty for red moons. As the difficulty increases, the miners will get further apart, your minimum speed will become faster, you will face a higher number of enemies and they will become more aggressive, and the pattern of the accelerator rings will become more sporadic, with them being lined up on the blue moons and zigzagging more as the colors change. For the game variations, Game 1 will only have blue and green moons. Game 2 will add yellow moons, but still contain mostly blue and green moons. Game 3 has the same 3 colors, but you'll see blue less often. And Game 4 features all 4 moon colors. You score the most points by successfully leaving the moon with 6 miners, but shooting the high altitude enemies also gives you some big points, and the point values can increase on higher difficulty moons. The game awards you an extra life every 10,000 points, with a maximum possibility of 9 lives. Graphically speaking, by Atari 2600 standards, this features some nice 3D effects of the moon surfaces and cute animations of the miners waving. The sounds are standard, and the music is basically non-existent, except for a nice rendition of Swing Low Sweet Chariot, which is so unexpected for a game like this that adds some quirky fun. Family-friendly wise, the game would most likely get an E for everyone rating if released today. Currently at PriceCharting.com, the game has a value of $10 loose, $33 complete, and $40 new. So is Moonsweeper for the Atari 2600 worth playing today? If you're willing to take the time to learn the game, I'd say yes, but I must warn you, it can be very frustrating to start with. Activating your shields and firing your high-altitude shots requires the joystick to be pressed fully downward while pressing the button. At the beginning, there were many times I crashed into something during the first phase because I moved slightly to the left or right when activating my shield and lost my protection. And the way stuff moves in the first phase can be confusing, especially with the orbits being so low on the screen, and some of the projectiles being so small. Just getting to a moon can take a while, and sometimes I misjudged a small projectile and it collided with the rear of my ship. I kinda wish everything was moved up a little bit for the first phase, and that you could move vertically more. On the moons themselves, it can be difficult to aim shots at the surface destroyers, especially at angles. Most of the time, I was just blindly shooting, hoping to hit something. And it can also feel a little bit slippery going from side to side, which can lead to accidental collisions, missing miners, and having a tough time hitting the accelerator rings that are zigzagging. And major props to anyone who's completed a red moon, as I never got close. But despite these complaints, I actually ended up enjoying this game to a degree after getting used to everything. It was very satisfying to leave the moon with all 6 miners, shoot down high-altitude enemies, and even watch a surface destroyer run into a tower. The 2 phases and 4 moon colors also help change things up enough that it never feels tedious. I even dig the 3D graphics in the miners, which may have influenced the later 2600 game I enjoy, Solaris. There really is a lot packed into this Atari 2600 cartridge from the early 80s. So where am I going to rank Moonsweeper? It's going somewhere in the middle. I'm looking in the 100s. I do enjoy a good game of Home Run more at 106, but I will put this over the surprisingly fun Tooth Protectors at 107. So out of the 262 games I've now ranked for the Atari 2600, Moonsweeper is rescuing miners at the 107th position. Moonsweeper isn't the easiest Atari 2600 game to pick up and play, and it can be frustrating at first, but it's still an enjoyable, unique space shooter for the Atari 2600. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Do you like this game or have any memories of it? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy my videos such as this one and you want to support my work, please click like and subscribe, drop a comment below, and for mega supporters, either become a channel member or sign up at patreon.com/NoSwearGamer. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time in the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care and pay special attention to your radar when trying to rescue stranded miners.